Ace. Goldie Ace, son of the infamous Pirate King Goldie Roger, brother of the main male protagonist within the story of One Piece, Monkey D. Luffy. And listen, I'm going to say it right now, within the story of One Piece, Ace is my favorite character. I'll say it again, I'll say it millions of times, Ace is my favorite character. And gotta say, his existence alone played a somewhat large effect within the story of One Piece, but in terms of Marineford, Ace was really one of the big reasons why the war happened to begin with. Nevertheless, during the Marineford arc, Ace met an extraordinarily early death, an extremely sad death as well, which was really caused from a domino effect that actually led up to one of the saddest moments within the entire story of One Piece, if not the saddest moment, hands down, at least for me. Now, this death all really started with Marshall D. Teach, aka Blackbeard, betraying the Whitebeard pirates so that in return he'd actually get the devil fruit power they set out for in the Blue Seas to begin with, and this betrayal happened through the murder of Thatch. This betrayal and murder that Blackbeard actually enacted later on would actually cause Ace to seek out Blackbeard on a solo mission to, I guess for lack of a better term, reclaim his crew's honor that Blackbeard in a way tarnished on that day. Ace then had a run-in with Blackbeard on Bonaro Island, which was a catalyst for the fight between the two, known as the duel at Bonaro Island, a duel that was as well the real true catalyst for the Marineford War. However, when the fight did end, we saw Blackbeard emerge victorious. He beat Ace, which in return landed Ace a spot in Impel Down, a top-of-the-line, heavily guarded Marine prison, which was later on proved not to be as top of the line as it was thought to be when Luffy infiltrated it. Nevertheless, though, Ace was given a date on which he would take part in a public execution and lose his life in front of millions. However, from there, you guys already know the rest. The whole Marineford arc takes place when Luffy and the Whitebeard pirates, along with Luffy's allies at the time, actually make an attempt to rescue Ace and stop the public execution from taking place to begin with. But when it does come down to it, Ace's death for the most part was really a domino effect in which many different situations led to his death. But seeing as Ace is my favorite character within the story of One Piece, although he may be dead at this current point in time, I've actually questioned for a while now what could have been different within the story of One Piece if Ace hadn't been killed by Akainu after nearly making his escape, and overall, if Ace were to still be alive. Now, there are many ways that you could really look at this situation, seeing as Ace's death was, as I demonstrated before, that of a domino effect. We're going to go and start this off, however, by asking what could have been different within the story of One Piece if Ace had held his tongue and decided against seeking out Blackbeard in the first place. Now, if this were to be the case, I'm almost 100% sure that Ace would have never died within the story of One Piece. Maybe later down the road something could have happened to Ace and caused him to die, but we know for sure there probably would have never been an arc surrounding Impel Down, which means that people like Jinbei likely would have never escaped Impel Down and may never be alive to begin with within the current moment. And without Impel Down, there is no way whatsoever that you can have Marineford to follow that arc, and when it does come down to it, for the most part, a lot of the problems that we saw Ace face would have never happened if Ace had held his tongue and didn't seek out Blackbeard in the first place. As well, you really could argue against this next part, seeing as Ace is incredibly loyal to the Whitebeard pirates and Whitebeard as a whole, and even as a child, he never wanted to be an underling to his younger brother Luffy within a pirate crew, and wanted to be the captain of a crew to begin with, but nevertheless, much later down the road, it's possible that Ace could have ended up joining the Straw Hats if he had survived and never went after Blackbeard. But none of the possibilities I touched on are really possible, seeing as Ace did seek out Blackbeard. So let's go ahead and ask what could have happened if Ace had escaped along with Luffy when they were initially making their way out of Marineford after rescuing Ace to begin with. Now, Ace nearly made it out of Marineford after being rescued. However, when Akainu insulted Whitebeard and their crew, Ace was not having any of it, and overall, Ace's defensive and arguably impulsive nature kind of led to his death in this instance when he saved Luffy from Akainu's wrath. But let's just go ahead and say that Ace let Akainu's comments slide about Whitebeard and his crew, and they continued their escape. Now, me personally, I do believe that either way, someone would have had to die in that instance. If not Ace, someone would have still had to die. As for who would have died in place of the death of Ace, I'm not exactly too sure who to say. However, my friend Legend Mac, who actually did a video on this himself, did bring up a pretty good point. That it's possible that Jinbei could have actually taken the place of Ace going into Marineford. Jinbei didn't even want to survive to begin with. He was prepared for the worst in the form of death, and he could have really taken the place of Ace if you really think about it. And if Ace were to have continued his escape as well, then not only is it really likely that he would have survived, but as well, it's somewhat possible that Whitebeard himself could have survived that instance. After Akainu killed Ace, remember, Whitebeard went in to fight Akainu, and going back to it, if Jinbei had taken Ace's spot, I highly doubt it's likely we would have seen Whitebeard retaliate in such the same fashion as when Ace died. But you really could argue that Whitebeard would have been a casualty, seeing as he was banged up really badly to begin with and was on the verge of death himself before Ace even died, but he still would have had the wiggle room to survive if it hadn't been for the death of Ace, in my personal opinion. Post Marineford as well, we saw the time skip where everyone began training, and we saw everyone come back with absolutely insane levels of strength. Example being like Zoro's training with Mihawk, where you guys, I think that we still still really know nothing about at this current point in time, Luffy learning and making his way towards the mastery in terms of haki. However, this desire to actually grow in strength all really sprouted from Luffy's feeling of him being weak when he couldn't save Ace back in Marineford. Therefore, it's likely we would have never seen a time skip, and in return, we would have likely not seen all of the Straw Hats grow in strength, seeing as Luffy would have never enacted the plan to regroup at Sabaody 2 years from then. And the last thing that I actually want to go and touch on, in the instance that Whitebeard were to have survived if Ace did survive, then it's likely that Blackbeard would have never even had stolen Whitebeard's Devil Fruit, and in return, he wouldn't be capable at this current point in time to utilize 2 separate Devil Fruits. Now, there are probably other huge effects that this scenario would have affected in the story of One Piece if Ace hadn't died back in Marineford, but those are just some of the major effects that I think we could have seen play out if the story had been changed and Ace had survived. But from this, you can just see how much of an impact Ace's death within the story of One Piece, mainly speaking in terms of the Marineford arc, had. Nevertheless, that's going to do it for today's video, though. Tell me in the comment section below of this video what major changes do you think we could have actually seen come out of the story of One Piece if Ace had never died. Like this video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new and you want to see some more One Piece content, and peace.